Welcome to Financial Insider Weekly. I'm your host, Michael Gray, CPA. My guest today is Janice Carney. Janice is an attorney and partner with the firm Carney, Shugai, Subweeks, LLP in Los Gatos, California, and their firm focuses on elder law. She received her JD degree, her law degree, from the University of Santa Clara Law School in 1990. Janice has been practicing law independently for 19 years, 15 as a sole practitioner. She's a certified specialist in estate planning, trust, and probate law by the State Bar of California Board of Legal Specialization since 1995. And in 2005, Janice became the first certified elder law attorney in Santa Clara County through the National Association of Elder Law Attorneys. In 2009, Janice became an accredited attorney with the Veterans Administration. And that is really the area we're going to focus on today. Today, Janice and I are going to be talking about Veterans Administration benefits for long-term care. Now, before we get started, I just want to mention, Janice has a specialization. There was a lot of study that was involved in that. This isn't something that you can tell everybody everything about in 30 minutes. And so if you're interested in getting more information, get qualified legal help. Okay, Janice, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Why did you get involved with planning for veterans benefits?
This goes back a long ways. As you said, I've been practicing in this area of law for 19 years. And over those years, I've become quite the expert in planning for long-term care. But until I realized what was available for veterans benefits, when someone couldn't afford long-term care for themselves, they were almost always forced into a nursing home on Medi-Cal. I've had a lot of frustrating cases over the years where people came to me and I just had to say, there's just nothing I can do. There's no resources I know of to help you financially. And when I found out that there is a benefit through the VA that we can get to help with assisted living and even care at home, I became very excited about that. Now, it's limited to just veterans or the spouses of veterans, but it's something that can help a lot of people that I didn't know about before. So as soon as I could, I became trained in it and became an accredited attorney. The VA only started accrediting attorneys in 2009. So this was pretty. Actually, I think it was in the summer of 2008.
Oh, okay.
And in 2009, I got the accreditation.
Okay. So, as an elder law attorney, why didn't you know about these benefits before?
Well, because the VA has kept them a secret. Really, the program that is most used for long-term care planning for elders is called the VA pension or improved pension. When it's for a surviving spouse, it's called the VA death pension. So this program has been out there since the early 1950s.
That's a long
time. Pretty much in its current configuration, and no one has known about it. Certainly, that's an oversimplification. Yes, the VA knows about it, and organizations called veteran service organizations know about it. But someone would have to walk into the VA or walk into the veteran service organization saying, I would like to apply for that program. Well, they didn't even know the program existed.
Right.
So and then they would have to be absolutely qualified on the four corners. And that's not very frequent that would happen. So while it was there and people did go on it in very, very limited numbers, no one knew about the program outside of the VA. So about I would say going on 10 years now. Maybe, no, excuse me. That's completely wrong. Going on about 5 years.
Yes.
Some attorneys found out about this program. The one attorney I know of is a lady by the name of Victoria Collier in Georgia.
Okay.
And she's a veteran herself, actually.
Okay.
And she's an elder law attorney. And she became an elder law attorney after getting out of the military. And she was frustrated, just as I am and have been, trying to get financial help for people in assisted living or even at home. And she says she went into an assisted living facility one time, and there was an elderly gentleman who happened to be a veteran of World War II, and he couldn't afford to stay in the assisted living facility. He really didn't need skilled nursing yet. And so what was going to happen to him? Was it going to go out on the streets? What was going to happen? So she said, you know, I'm going to go and look and see if there isn't something through the VA. And she started reading the codes, the federal code, and found out that there is a program that is available to seniors that are veterans or surviving spouses of veterans that can help them pay for care. And she started doing it, and before long she started teaching other attorneys, and now there's a number of different people who teach about this, but I think that it might be Victoria that let the cat out of the bag.
Okay. Well, what types of benefits are available through the Department of Veterans Affairs? Okay,
so I want to explain a little bit about the Department of Veterans Affairs. There's two different agencies. One is called the Veterans Health Agency, and the other one is the Veterans Benefits Agency.
Okay.
The health agency is the agency that runs the hospitals, the nursing homes, and there are some state VA nursing homes as well. I don't want to confuse that, but the VA runs some short-term nursing homes, runs all the clinics, provides the outpatient services like for therapy for the veterans who have post-traumatic stress disorders and all of those kind of things. They have the pharmacy kind of things. So those are all administered by the VA's health agency.
Okay.
And we call that the VHA.
Okay.
Then there's a Veterans Benefit Agency. Veterans Benefit Agency is involved in paying money. Now, there is actually a third sort of agency, and it's the one that runs the cemeteries. Okay. So we're not going to talk about that.
But the people who aren't living.
Who aren't living. But, well, they're planning for when they're not living.
Okay.
But the Veterans Benefit Agency runs the programs that give money. The most famous one is the GI Bill. That's through the Veterans Benefit Agency for educational benefits. Okay. And Veterans Home Loans. That's another one that most people know about. Right. That's the veterans. Also, most people know about VA compensation, which is paid for a veteran who is disabled because of an illness or injury that was either caused or exacerbated by their military service.
Yes.
So those are programs that most people know about. But very few people know about this other program called the Improved Pension or Death Pension that is out there. And that's the program that's been kept pretty much a secret. And the one that I'm looking to help most of the seniors who I work with. Okay.
So is this a regular retirement program?
The pension?
Yeah.
No. This pension is not a retirement pension. Unfortunately, it uses that word.
Yeah, so that's why there could be a lot of confusion.
You
talk about it being a secret. I mean, you just put a name on it that's misleading, and people don't know.
There you go. You think you have to retire from the military to get this pension. This has nothing to do with military retirement. This is just the word that they've used for a program called the Improved Pension or Death Pension, and oftentimes people call it aid in attendance. This program offers a certain level of money under the basic pension. But if you need the aid and attendance of another person, or you're in a nursing home, or you're blind, any of those three things gets you stepped up to a higher level that they call aid and attendance. So it's really the pension with an aid and attendance supplement, but most people think of the word as aid and attendance. Again, no one even understood aid and attendance was a benefit that you could get with this pension, for unless you happen to I don't even know how people could have gotten it beforehand. So the pension is really more to get a pension, the VA improved pension or death pension. You have to be financially needy. So you can sort of think of it as a welfare kind of benefit. It's not a retirement benefit. You don't get it just because you're not in the military anymore. There are other components of eligibility for it that are more on the financial needs, that are strictly a financial needs-based kind of level. So you can sort of think of it as a welfare benefit versus a retirement pension.
Okay. How do you qualify for these benefits?
Okay, well, first you have to be either a veteran or the surviving spouse of a veteran, and the veteran had to have served at least one day during a wartime period. Now, these wartime periods are defined by Congress. There's certain dates that the World War II occurred. When did it begin? When did it end? There may be some additional extension of the time depending on the theater that the person was serving in. Then there's a period of time for Korea, a period of time for Vietnam, and a period of time for the Gulf War. Interestingly, they did not call the Grenada conflict a war. So the servicemen that were in that conflict were not in a wartime period for this benefit.
But if you think about what, the periods that you just enumerated, I think if we look, let's see here, I guess I'll say the last 70 years, because I'm thinking about it, just this time of period. I mean, the majority of those years probably did have some sort of war periods that were involved.
Right. There's a few years at the last half of the 1950s and the very first few years of the 1960s where we were not in war.
Basically, the Clinton administration, we weren't in war, but both Bush administrations, we managed to get in.
The Clinton administration, we were in war.
Oh, we were?
The Gulf War was declared in 1990, and we have not been out of wartime period since then. So the longest war in
So from the time that Bush Sr. went into the Gulf War, it's continued that whole time.
We are still at war under the definition of the Gulf War for VA benefits purposes.
Isn't that amazing? So that's 20 years right there, over 20 years.
It's an amazing number of, and of course, World War II, most of the men in the United States
at that
time served.
Yeah.
And so when we have a 91-year-old who comes into the office, it is a good chance that they were serving during World War World War II.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And if they're in their 80s, it's a good chance they served during the Korean conflict. Now, you did not have to be in the combat zone. You'd never, if you were in Korea if you were in the military during the Korean War period of time, you never had to get anywhere near Korea. You might not have even left the United States, but you had to be on active duty in the military at least one day during that
wartime period.
That period of time. There is an additional requirement that you had to serve at least 90 days of active duty, of which one had to be. So you could have, I literally have had a client in this last year who went on active duty the last day of the Korean War.
Okay.
And he served his 4 years, but only one day, that first day happened to be the last day of the Korean War as defined by Congress. So you have to have 90 days. Then you have to have been discharged other than dishonorably. Dishonorable discharge could be contested and changed. If you, for instance, were discharged because of homosexuality, that was might have been a dishonorable discharge. Today, you can get that kind of notation on your discharge changed. So it depends on what you were discharged for. Sometimes even folks who weren't discharged dishonorably were discharged for bad conduct.
Yes.
And it is possible for the VA to look through what the discharge was. If it doesn't say honorable discharge, if it says something else, the VA will look into the background and see, was it really a dishonorable discharge? And again, an attorney could be hired to contest that for someone. So you have to be a wartime veteran, have served at least 90 days, and been discharged other than dishonorably. Those are the service component.
Okay.
Then there's a financial component, and the financial component is actually divided into two parts. One is the assets that you can own. The VA divides your assets into two categories: exempt assets and countable assets. Exempt is usually your home and your personal possessions, the stuff in your house, your personal effects and that kind of thing, and your vehicles. As many vehicles as are reasonable for whatever situation you're in. So you can have exempt assets of any value. Then everything else is countable. A big difference in VA from Medi-Cal, if someone was planning for Medi-Cal, is retirement accounts. Retirement accounts are not exempt assets for VA, while they are, in California at least, for Medi-Cal. So we look at then what else you have, and those assets are evaluated whether they are available to pay for your care. And if something totally was illiquid, you cannot cash it in. I have someone with some stock in a closely held corporation that can't be cashed in. And we got all kinds of declarations from the corporation, and they said, we cannot cash you out. And that became an unavailable asset, even though it was technically worth like $150,000. So we find out what's available to pay for your care, and then they want those assets depleted to a certain level. The VA doesn't have a number that they give you about how many assets you can have, like Medi-Cal does. They basically say it's the amount of assets that you reasonably need to provide for yourself for the rest of your life. So we look at what is the rest of your life, how many months is that on the chart that the VA gives us, and then we calculate how much money do you need to cover your expenses. And then if your income is insufficient to cover that expense, then you have to use your countable assets, your savings, to supplement it. And if it's not enough, then we can get you on VA benefits on the asset side. The VA then looks at your income. Once we have you within bounds on the assets, then any income you have reduces any countable income that you have, reduces the VA benefit dollar for dollar. So we have to figure out what is countable, because most people have income that is in excess of the benefits. The benefits you might want to, we'll go over the benefits in a moment, but the benefits are oftentimes less than someone's Social Security and pension, regular retirement pension from wherever they retired from, and other kinds of assets. So if you can't reduce the income, you can't get any benefit from the VA. The way to reduce the income is to deduct from your gross income any unreimbursed medical expenses. Well, of course, that's your health insurance premiums, and if you do pay the doctor out of your own money. But it also includes, as defined by the VA, care expenses. If your doctor basically says that you need care due to medical condition, then those personal care expenses, the in-home caregivers, the assisted living, are all considered medical expenses. So it's not unusual for me to have, for instance, an elder with $2,000 of income, and they're in an assisted living facility paying $4,000 a month.
Yes.
Well, they're negative $2,000 a month.
Right.
And if that $2,000 a month, if they're expected to live, say it's a 90-year-old, and I've got 3 years to life expectancy, then I've got 36 months, so they could have 2 times 36 is 72, right? $72,000. If their assets are less than $72,000, then I can get the VA benefit, and the cost of their care is reducing their income to below zero. So now they have zero income for VA purposes, and now I can get the entire benefit for them.
Now, what do people do if they have too many assets that count?
Well, they get rid of them.
Okay.
So VA does not have a look-back period like Medi-Cal does. So forget about look-back periods. The only thing you cannot own or control, have any ownership or control over an asset. Interestingly, if you apply for VA benefits and maybe you get on VA benefits, and then maybe you inherit some money, and then you give it away, VA thinks that money you gave away is under your control because you had it when you were on benefits or eligible for benefits, and you gave it away, and therefore it will disqualify you. Whereas if you gave it away before you ever applied for benefits, they don't look back. They don't see it.
What about a disclaimer?
You can't. Well, it depends on whether the VA knows about it.
Oh,
But
okay.
you might have a disclaimer issue. Disclaimer for the audience is basically saying no thank you to an inheritance,
Right.
and basically saying don't give it to me, let it go to whoever it's supposed to go to. So there's no defined rule that I know of about disclaimers. Inheritances, yes, are considered an asset. Okay. The assets, once you if you're pre-planning for the VA benefits, you can give away assets, you can convert them, take money and pay off your mortgage on your house, for instance, so you convert it to an exempt asset. You can do a number of different things with your assets. You just can't own them anymore, you can't control them.
Okay. So Janice, we just have a couple minutes. Why don't you talk about what are the benefits that are available?
Great question. The benefit for the basic pension benefit for a veteran who's married is $1,337 a month. Okay. If that veteran who is married needs aid in attendance for him or herself, they can get another $2,019. That's not on
total.
That's total. If the veteran is single and needs aid in attendance, they can get $1,703. No, is that right? Yes, $1,703. I'm getting my numbers mixed up.
That's okay.
And if the veteran is deceased and we have a surviving spouse who needs aid in attendance, that person can get $1,094. So these numbers, when you combine them with their existing income, oftentimes it's just enough to make the difference that they can stay in that assisted living or provide home care.
Okay. I'm afraid to ask the next question. Maybe I think what I'll do is, we got 3 minutes, so we do have time maybe for you to quickly talk about how do you apply for these benefits.
Well, there are forms that are available through the VA. You have to go through the forms, answer all the questions that are in there. You have to have a doctor's declaration that says that you need the level of care that you're at for medical purposes. The medical evaluation, or the component of this, is sometimes the trickiest piece, and that's what I really encourage all of your guests to make sure that they talk to a VA attorney if there's any issue about whether or not they would qualify. So on a health side. But we've got to get doctor's declarations, we've got to get information about all their financial assets, what are their incomes, what are their medical expenses, and provide all of that documentation to the VA.
And you can get that information at a Veteran Service Organization office?
You can. And in California, there is a county veteran service organization that is run by the county in each county. So the one here in Santa Clara County is over by Valley Fair in San Jose.
Okay. And so an attorney like yourself basically helps people to work through the rough spots when they're trying to get these, if they're having a difficulty qualifying or whatever.
Well, if you're not automatically qualified, how do we get you qualified? How do we plan your assets? How do we make sure that we get all of those documentations in place? How do we reduce your income so that for VA purposes you will be able to get this benefit? One of the pieces that the attorney can help with is how do we pay your daughter to take care of you, who's been doing it for free? And we do have to do a contract with her and have her actually paid for the caregiving before that can be deductible against the income.
Okay.
So it's lots of pieces to it.
Great. Janice, thank you so much for being my guest.
You're welcome.
This is an important area that, like you said, it's a secret not a lot of people know about. And so we're getting the word out here. Folks, I hope you can appreciate what we've been sharing with you here today. And if you're not a veteran, maybe you know a veteran that can use this information, we'll be posting this interview at financialinsiderweekly.com. And we'll see you next time on Financial Insider Weekly.